Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our 2019 Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day planning webinar. Just a few things before we get started. We will be using voice over internet. And if you are calling in through your computer but not getting a good connection, you can try the teleconference line. It might offer a little clarity for you. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube after we're completed. Probably later this afternoon, it'll be posted on our website as well. So if you need to cut out early, or if you have colleagues and friends who weren't able to make this time, they can watch the recording later this afternoon, tomorrow, and so on. And if at any time you have any questions, please type your question into the chat box on your control panel, and we will get to it as best as we can. We'll also have some time at the end for some questions and answers as well. I am Gwen Hearn. I'm Discover E's Outreach Coordinator. I also kind of manage our Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day program, as well as our involvement with the Dream Big project. In addition to myself, we'll have two presenters today, two guest speakers. We'll have Rachelle Larsen, who is a senior engineer with Carollo Engineers in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She's one of our awesome Girl Day role models. Additionally, we have Kate Maxwell, who's the director of the IIS Innovation Center with Raytheon Intelligence in State College, Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to briefly introduce them. We will hear a little bit more from them a bit later in the program. So to get us started, it's just nice to know who we're speaking with today to see how many of you may already be Girl Day role models. We do have this short poll, so if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to answer whether you are a role model, not yet, or no. And if you are not a role model at the moment, hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll have some more information on what our role models do, what Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day is, and hopefully you will join us in helping to inspire that next generation of engineers. So I'll give it about 15 more seconds. Looks like we've got almost everybody voted in here. All right, so here are our results. It looks like we've got about almost 70% of the folks on the poll today, or on the call today, are not role models. So hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll have made the decision to become an official Girl Day role model and help us out in kind of spreading the wonderful world of engineering. So this launches us into our webinar here. What is Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day? Essentially, it is exactly what the title says. It's an opportunity to show girls what engineering is all about. We rely on role models like all of you, and that can be engineers, teachers and educators, engineering students, other STEM professionals, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors. Anybody can be a role model, and it's all about showing girls what engineering is, or may even just be giving them the encouragement to check it out if they're not sure, haven't been introduced to engineering. Just making the suggestion about going to see the Dream Big film, or attend an engineering festival, or listen to an engineer who might come into a classroom or a school program to kind of introduce them to what engineering is and the possibilities that stand behind or before them. So we've got one more poll here. We took a look at how many of you are role models. Now it's nice to get an idea of who you are. Are you an educator, engineer, student, non-engineer but STEM professional, other? So please take a minute to respond to this poll, and we'll take a look and see who we've got on the line with us today. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds. All right, I think we've got pretty much everybody responding. All right, so it looks like we've got about 50% of those on the line today are engineers, 20% teachers, about 10% other STEM professionals, and then a quarter of folks have marked themselves as other. So it's great to have everybody on the line today. We've got a few engineering undergrads as well. So thank you all for attending. What do role models do? Role models our role models perform a wide variety of tasks, from organizing large events to just talking to girls one-on-one. Many will visit classrooms and talk to students. They might host an event such as an 8,000-person festival, or it could just be going into an after-school program and talking to girls about engineering as well. Others will host events at their places of business or their factories and plants, invite girls in to tour where you work. So these are just a few examples of what our role models do. Next is, how do you become a role model? Becoming a role model is easy. You can sign up on our website. As a role model, you'll have access to tons of Girl Day resources. And if you're not familiar with discoverE.org, we have a lot of resources that are available to anybody who wants to try to engage kids in engineering. Everything is free. We've got tips and trainings, ways to kind of engage girls and kids in engineering, so you are fully supported as part of our role model community. Additionally, we do have a Facebook group for Girl Day role models. We launched this last year, and so far it's been wildly successful. This is a place for our role models and non-role models to connect with one another. It's a great way to bounce ideas off of each other, ask questions, share events and resources and tools that you've found helpful. So anybody's welcome to join that. Of course, we do really recommend that you become an official Girl Day role model, but it's not absolutely necessary. You can also add your colleagues and your friends. And then again, it's just a great place to share resources, ideas, and even events. Now, I did touch a little bit on some of our resources we have. We've got our Facebook group. We also have our Dream Big Girls Night Out for Girl Day program. This was new last year and will continue this year as well. It uses the Dream Big film to engage girls in engineering, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later down the webinar. We also have 3 planning guides for Girl Day. These give you ideas on how to get started, kind of a rundown of resources that might be helpful, program ideas as well. We've got one geared towards engineers, one geared towards parents, and one geared towards educators. But of course, I encourage you to take a look at all 3 of them. You might get some ideas kind of across the board. We do have an exciting new resource this year. This is something that we've been asked about from our role models and other discoverE volunteers for years, as to kind of get some new statistics on women in engineering. And thanks to our great partners with the Society of Women Engineers, we do have a one-sheet with statistics about women in engineering. And you can use these during your presentation to show that there still is a need for women in engineering. And this is available on the website. It's also listed under our Girl Day promotional materials. You can see on the left of your screen is a screenshot of our Girl Day planning page, our program page. So if you visit our website, go to the Girl Day Promo Materials section. You can find this resource there. You should also be able to actually download it right from today's webinar in the handout section of your control panel. And again, all of our resources that you'll find online are free, and anybody can use them. And additionally, we've got tips and trainings. As I just mentioned, we have all of our promotional materials in one place, so it's easy to access. So when you are planning your program or your event, you can find the Girl Day poster, the artwork, the logo, and a few other helpful links all in that section of the website. And then we also have our events calendar, which we ask and encourage everybody who's planning an event related to Girl Day and or Discover E Engineers Week in general. Please post your events on our event calendar. It doesn't need to be an invitation for come one, come all. It can just, you can post it and let folks know that this is happening in the area. But if you are hosting an event that is open to the public, you can put your registration link in there, information, time, date as well. And it's a great source of free advertising to draw people to your event. All right, so we do have our last poll of the day before we launch into our presentation with our guest speakers. But how long have you been involved in Girl Day? Is this your first year? Have you been involved for a few years or longer? Looks like we still got votes coming in, so we'll give it just a few more seconds. All right, so looks like, wow, 81%. This is your first Girl Day, so welcome. It's great to see so many new people getting involved. This is fantastic. And it looks like we've got about 20% who have been involved from between 1 and 5 years. So hopefully next year we'll start to see that 6 to 10 year range. All right, well, as we continue, I am going to invite Rachelle Larsen to speak a bit. Rachelle, thank you for joining us. Can you share a little bit about your background, briefly how you got involved with Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, and kind of share a bit about the work you do?
Okay. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you're at. I am in Albuquerque. I work as an environmental engineer. I've been in the water industry for over 10 years now. I'm currently a senior engineer at Corollo Engineers. And with regard to the Girl Day role models, I've been a role model for over 2 years now. And I got involved by first starting a Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day event at a school. I do quite a bit of outreach locally, and I like to get out and get into classrooms and get that one-on-one time with girls. How I first discovered Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day is through the website. I was looking for resources, and I came across the Discover E website and found most of everything that I needed, videos and all of the different resources. So taking all of those resources and trying to organize an event, I kind of used that and started an event. It seems to be an annual event now, and I just, like to give back. And I used to be a teacher myself for a couple of years, and I miss the interaction with students, so I take this time to really kind of get that contact time with different ages, and I especially like working with the girls because I do believe that I want to see more women engineers out there, and this is kind of the way that I like to do it. So I will be talking to you today about classroom visits and kind of go through some steps and some lessons learned from what I've done in the past. So if you can go on to the next slide.
All right.
So when setting up a classroom visit, there are so many different options. You can go to a public or private school. You can talk to after-school programs that are at different schools. You can also, there's so many STEM programs now that are separate from the schools. So just getting out there and talking to people and making those connections, you can find someone who's interested right away. It doesn't take a whole lot it's not difficult to find someone who wants to have an event at their school. For me, I have a niece who is in middle school, and I just talked to her teacher, and I visited her school and started setting up an event. So it wasn't too difficult. So after you engage the teacher or administrator, whoever you're coordinating with, the second step is to start to think about the general details of the event. What day and time of the event works for you? Is it going to be during the school day, so during the week, or is it going to be a weekend? Is it after school? You kind of figure that out based on your own availability, and then try to figure out how many students you want to engage. If this is your first event, I would start small. Generally, 15 to 20 girls is actually a pretty good number, and you can narrow that down to one classroom, or you can open to the entire school. With my niece's school, she goes to a private school, and so I worked with her science teacher, and she actually opened up the event to the entire school, and the students themselves signed up for the event, and the event was during the school day, so they had to get permission from their parents to miss classes to attend the event, but it was just for the one afternoon, and the event we have usually goes for almost 3 hours. So with regard to other requirements, that's where the permission forms come into play, if it's during school or after school. Okay, next slide. So after the general details are set and you have your date and where you're going to go, I start to look into the details of what specifically is going to happen at the event. So the first thing I like to do is just come up with a schedule of the time that you're going to spend there. It's very cool to do introductions and icebreakers because sometimes the girls there are usually there'll be groups of friends here and there, but for the most part you're really going to engage girls who are sincerely interested in science and math and engineering. So sometimes they don't always hang out with one another. That's why icebreakers are important, especially if you're going to do a team event. If you have other volunteers there with you and other engineers, a panel discussion goes really well because there are a lot of questions that the students ask about engineering. And if you need some fillers during your schedule, videos are always good. I know, it's kind of use videos to bring your world to them as opposed to, taking them to work or going on a field trip. And then, of course, you have an engineering activity that you do. And then depending on the length of your event, you might have to schedule breaks. So on the slide, there's a couple of an icebreaker that I do, and then a short activity that I do at the beginning just to start getting them engaged. All of these I researched over the website, and I kind of gauged the length of time for each activity, and then started getting material together and trying to decide, what activities are going to be individual and what activities are going to be group oriented, just to give them an idea. Engineers, we work in teams mostly. So next slide. So the last step to the classroom visit is, once I have all the details narrowed down, I'll start reaching out to get help to bring in other volunteers. I work with the Society of Women Engineers quite a bit, and I'll reach out to ASME and ASCE here locally, and see if they have any women that want to volunteer. Men too. I mean, I either works fine, and also look for college students because younger girls tend to, for some reason, listen more to the college students than the older. And then teachers and parents, having teachers and parents there is a good idea, especially when it comes to controlling the groups and not letting the girls get too distracted, and just kind of keeping them focused. Okay, next slide. Some of the lessons I learned from doing the classroom visits is it's really good to have a variety of engineering disciplines as your volunteers. Just this helps to make the students more aware of the different disciplines that exist. Sometimes they have this idea of an engineer and it's only one idea, but we all know that there are several disciplines in engineering and we all do a lot of different things. So that helps to get them engaged. If you do introductions, sometimes they'll turn into a discussion panel, and so 15 minutes could easily turn into 30 minutes, which is really great because you know that the students are engaged and you want them to learn more about different disciplines. Also, discussing discipline of the students prior to the event. So you talk with a teacher or a parent, and whoever's there helping you that's associated with the school, just letting them know that we don't want things to get really out of hand at the event, and it'd be helpful to have a teacher engage in that. And once you have that initial discussion, everything goes a lot smoother, and talking with the teacher on that level kind of gives the teacher an idea of how much discipline's required, and just focus, I guess. If you do group activities, create groups at random. The more direction you can give with the girls, the better the event goes. And also, encourage teamwork within the groups. If you see one girl, not being included, or she's very quiet, trying to get her engaged with the other girl so that she feels like she's included. And then lastly, if you're running short on time in your event, or you have extra time, look at your engineering activity, and usually we're designing something or constructing something, or either of those steps. You can always throw in testing and redesign to extend that activity so that you're not left with 20 minutes at the end of your event with nothing to do. There's always going back and kind of going through the steps of the activity really helps. So just, those are my lessons learned, and that's my sort of planning rubric for making a classroom visit.
Awesome. Thank you, Rochelle. That's really great. So thanks for the insight. A lot of our, especially engineers, do classroom visits and have questions about them, and I think this is valuable information and good for educators to consider as well. Now, outside of classroom visits, we also, encourage folks, whether it's engineers, other STEM professionals, university students looking to engage, to get out and connect with girls in your community. And like I said, there's other ways to do it outside of the classroom as well. After school programs are a good place to start. Whether it's a club associated with school or something like the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, or through other local girls-serving organizations like the Girl Scouts, 4-H, National Girls Collaborative Project. These are all great organizations to engage with who already have girls as kind of a captive audience, to go out and do a program or invite them to your work, to tour your facility, or host a panel or a festival to engage these girls. These are great places to find young women to engage with. And here, along those same lines, is one of our new resources this year, 4 Easy Ways to Engage Girls in Engineering. Works for boys as well. I don't want to single out the girls. But basically, it's just talk to girls about engineering, do hands-on activities, focus on the engineering outputs. Think about what engineers do. They dream up creative and practical solutions. They work with others. They get to design, invent, and create things. And then also connect engineering to helping people. There have been a lot of studies done that really look at the messaging that resonates with girls, and this is one of the big things, is that engineers help people. They make a difference in the world and make a difference in people's lives. So this resource is also available directly from the webinar in the handout section, and as with all of our others, you can find it online through our website as well. Now, moving on, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who's going to talk a little bit about different ways she's engaged girls over the years and introduced them to engineering. So I'd like to welcome Kate Maxwell with Raytheon. Thanks for joining us, and if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement with Girl Day and how you inspire that next generation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gwen, and hello to everybody who's on the webinar today. So my name is Kate Maxwell. I work for Raytheon Company. We are the third largest defense contractor in the world. I've been with them for about 14 years. So I joined back in 2004 as a software engineer, pursued some higher education, and ultimately moved into systems engineering with them. And my current role, I'm the director of innovation for my business unit, which is the Intelligence, Information, and Services Group. So we're active in terms of inspiring and empowering our employee base to innovate. But part of our charter also is to reach out and to inspire and empower the next generation of engineering talent. And so that means we often partner with schools and community groups to spread the word about engineering. And it's something I'm very passionate about. STEM outreach is a big part of, I think, my personal mission. There have been a lot of people who have moved in my life to help me get to where I am in my engineering career. And so I hope to do the same thing to inspire the next generation of talent, particularly including young women. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. So next slide, Gwen. So Gwen and I spoke a few months back, and she asked me to share with you some of our methods of engagement, both here at Raytheon as well as some of the STEM outreach things that I do personally. So there's lots of different ways to do STEM outreach. I think probably the first and the most obvious would be those school and community partnerships that you heard about a little bit from Rochelle. It's if you have a local school nearby, maybe an elementary school, a middle school, a high school, there are tons of academic institutions like this that are just begging for industry professionals to come in and share some thoughts and experiences with them related to engineering and technology. So for instance, I work at a small site in State College, Pennsylvania. We have a middle school right up the road from us, and they have a science club that meets, once a week or something. And so we've established an informal partnership with them where we'll go in and essentially sit in on their class once or twice a year, and they'll have us speak as members of industry. And so we'll share some thoughts on what engineering looks like. And like Rochelle spoke to, share some of the ways that engineering can make a difference in the world, because that really resonates with young women in particular. We also at Raytheon partner with the Girl Scouts of America. And so at many of our sites, we have local Girl Scout troops that we will do some badge exercises with. So you can see a photo on this page. We had a cyber workshop with a Girl Scout troop in the Virginia area, where we brought them in and we taught them about cybersecurity at a very high level and why it's important in the world and how they can also protect themselves when they're online. These are things that are, it's important. These are life skills that they need to understand, and it also does introduce them to technology, and they get to see some female technologists and engineers who are actively out there in the world and having success. And that, if they see you doing that as a woman, I think they can start to see themselves in that same position in their future. And that's really important to getting girls excited about engineering. Other things we do are STEM outreach projects, and I have on the next slide, I'll share one with you, so I won't say too much about that on this slide, but STEM outreach projects are a great way to get people excited about engineering because it's something that they can touch and feel and see, and it's not just them seeing words on a slide. So projects are always a great idea. Other methods of engagement, I love Ask Me Anything sessions, and I think these especially resonate with middle school and high school girls, and frankly, even university students. I'm actually sitting at James Madison University right now. I met with their engineering leadership development class today and hosted an Ask Me Anything, where you get in a safe space and you say, you know what, anything's on the table. What happens in this room stays in this room, but you can ask me any question you like about being an industry professional or being a woman in engineering. And you'll get some hard questions, like, you know, what's your starting salary? How do I negotiate when I go and start a job somewhere? What does work-life balance look like for you, and how can I do that better in my own life? These are the types of questions I think especially young women have when they're considering a career in engineering and technology, but they often don't have the resources or the people around them that they can ask those questions to. So if you're comfortable with that sort of a format, I think it really resonates with young women. It's an easy thing to do. You don't even have to prepare anything. You just have to, you know, find a contact at a local school or university. Tell them you'd like to host an Ask Me Anything and maybe throw some pizza in the room, and people will show up and they will ask you hard questions. But they're going to walk away with you having made a difference in their lives, and I think that's important. Mentoring obviously is huge. I mentor a lot of people at a lot of different levels, including junior engineers that are already within Raytheon, as well as some students. So we have a lot of interns at Raytheon who then go back, of course, to their studies at university after their time as a summer intern. And they need help. They need industry professionals, women who've been there, especially, you know, as they're at the hard times in their academic studies where they're questioning whether this is right for them. Can they really cut it as an engineer? Do they want to continue in this course, or do they want to maybe change to something that's outside of the STEM world? They need you to be their voice of confidence and to help them with that. I don't know about everyone on this line, but I've been there. There was a moment, certainly in my undergraduate life, where I thought, boy, I cannot go be a computer scientist. This is just not going to work out for me. And I'm so glad that somebody told me to stick with it. So I think we as women in industry, and men as well, I think we have an obligation to mentor the next generation talent. And that can be mentoring people in middle school and high school, or young people who are already pursuing a degree in STEM, or perhaps are already in the field. Digital outreach is a really great way to do STEM outreach because it's kind of low barrier to entry. There are times in my life where I've been really available to travel and to go to schools and to give an hour or two at a physical location. And then there have been other times where it's difficult because maybe I have young kids at home or I just don't have as much flexibility in my life. Digital outreach is a great way to do that when you don't have as much time. Webinars like this are fantastic, and you can do them from anywhere. Like I said, I'm traveling for work today. I'm at James Madison University in Virginia, and yet I was able to find a Wi-Fi connection and dial in. You know, it's pretty easy to participate in these kind of things, and they make a difference. The Power to Fly organization is another great one that hosts lots of webinars for young women who are looking at getting into degree programs in STEM. So they host webinars like this on a regular basis, and again, all it requires is a phone line and an internet connection. AnitaB.org, if you're not familiar with them, they encourage young women especially to go into computing fields, and they have a group called Sisters that has some online forums and some online mentoring where people will post questions related to being an engineer or being a woman in the technology industry, and then anybody on that forum can answer. And it's a great way to get feedback in an easy kind of forum. You can just log onto your computer and chat with somebody. So that's digital mentoring that, again, the barrier to entry is low, but you can really make a difference in someone's life. Discovery hosts this thing called Girl Day Chat every year on Twitter, which I love. It's something I've participated in the past during eWeek, and basically they'll feed questions to some pre-selected Twitter panelists, essentially, and you can respond with your thoughts about engineering or about working in technology or about being a woman in an underrepresented field such as this. And then there's students and parents who are logged onto Twitter following this chat, and they can ask you questions as well. So it's a great way to get the conversation rolling in a digital forum. And like I said, there's mentoring communities online as well. The last thing I'll offer is if you don't have time to do any of these things, I would suggest that you consider maybe sponsoring a scholarship for a local school. It doesn't have to be a lot. My husband and I care an awful lot about getting women into engineering and especially computing. Since I was a computer science student way back when, and I was the only woman in my class at the time, we wanted to encourage young women at our high school alma mater to consider those fields as well. And so we set up a scholarship by working with the local guidance office, and we just offer, I believe the current value is $500 a year that we fund ourselves, or you can do fundraising if you like for that sort of a thing. And we have an application that's very simple. It's a single page. Students fill it out. They give us their transcript. They write a little essay about what it means for them to go into engineering, or how they think that they could solve the problem of getting women into engineering. And then my husband and I just go through the applications every year, and we select someone, and we cut her a check. And that, I think that's important because it shows women that are in industry giving back. And hopefully it encourages them to do the same. So if you don't have the time to do some of these outreach initiatives, you can always set up a scholarship or sponsor one or do some fundraising for one as well. So we'll move on to the next slide. So I wanted to share with you an example of one project that we at Raytheon did last year with a local school. It might have been 2 years ago now that I think about it. We sent a toy train to near space, which sounds kind of crazy, but it was an awesome STEM outreach project because it made space tangible and real and accessible to students. And it got them really excited to participate in this process. So what we did was we found a little toy train that belonged to one of our kids. I think it was Thomas the train. And we put that inside a foam cooler that we got from Omaha Steaks. Again, this doesn't take many resources. We bought a telemetry board online. We had a Raspberry Pi and a tiny little camera, and we stuffed all of this in the cooler along with some hand warmers and some batteries, and did just a little bit of coding. And we bought a weather balloon and some helium from a local supply company, and we sent this thing to near space. So it was a really neat opportunity to do a STEM outreach project. This sounds complicated, but it's not. This is all stuff that you can do yourself if you put a little bit of money into it. I think we maybe spent $250 on resources, and the helium was the most expensive part. But all of the details for how to run a project like this are available on the open web. You can just Google, weather balloon STEM outreach, and you'll find lots of hits. The students loved participating in this, and we even had a local guy who flies planes act as our chase plane. And so we sent this weather balloon up with his Omaha steak box tied to it, and the board, roughly every 500 feet, instructed the camera that was mounted on the outside of the box. You can probably see it. There's a little pinhole at the bottom next to that red tape. It took a photo every 500 feet. And this thing made it to 81,656 feet, where you could start to see the curvature of the Earth. And it took photos the whole way. And we tracked the flight using some GPS techniques. And then when the balloon burst at that altitude, we tracked it on its way down, and we were lucky enough to find the box and get the pictures off of the SD card and share them with the students. And they loved it. It was really cool. They learned about a lot of different engineering disciplines like software and hardware and systems engineering. They got to learn a little bit about program and mission management. They learned about communications and telemetry, power, predicting flight. They learned how to work with the FAA. We obviously had to call a local airport tower to let them know we're launching this thing, so we didn't get in their air path at all, and they were more than happy to work with us. We learned about operating in harsh environments. We were actually keeping track of the temperature inside that the Omaha steak box, and it got pretty darn cold in there. That's why we had the hand warmers in, so the batteries didn't freeze, and so it could keep operating. And we learned about safety, how to make sure that your flight operations are safe, both on the way up and the way down, and avoiding air traffic and all these things. So this is a really cool project for a lot of students. It's not complicated to run because there's so many resources available on the web. And it cost us $250, which Raytheon was nice enough to buy all the resources for us. So we just showed up in a field on a Saturday and ran this. We had a big crowd there, and they loved it. And my hope is that this is the sort of thing that will inspire girls and young women to get into engineering and technology. And then I hope that they'll give back as well. So that's an example of a project and some methods of engagement that I've participated in. I will tell you, while I do feel like all of these outreach initiatives do a lot for students, I think I've taken a lot away from it personally as well. I mean, if you're looking to grow your own career, this is a great way to get some public speaking experience in a safe environment. You know, it's not a hard thing to stand up in front of middle school girls and share some things about your career. So you do get that public speaking experience. You also get a little bit of reverse mentoring. I love speaking to high school students and college students because I hear about the things that they're learning about. They're seeing cutting edge technology. They understand what, let's say, the social media landscape looks like nowadays, and the digital landscape. So I always learn more from them, I think, than they learn from me. they also are so enthusiastic. And so if you're feeling like you're stagnating in your job a little bit, or you need that kick in the pants, they inspire me every time I work with them, and I love their energy. So I think I take away just as much from these outreach initiatives as hopefully they do. So I just wanted to share those with you. I would definitely encourage you to get involved. And thanks again to the Discovery Organization and Gwen for having me here today.
That's great. Thank you, Kate. I think that you kind of closed there and touched on an important point, that being a mentor and a role model goes both ways, and it's impactful for the kids and the girls that you're engaging with, but for yourself as well. So thanks for that reminder. I think that's something that we tend to forget often. But it's great. We've got some. I hope you've enjoyed these two speakers. We had some good insight from role models themselves who are out there doing this work all year round, which is excellent. That did make me think for a moment. I think I forgot to mention that the date for Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day is February 21st, 2019 this year. It's always the Thursday during Engineers Week at the end of February every year. But even though it's just, we've got a specific date for it, really Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day is a movement and a mindset that you can carry all year long. And girls and kids need inspiration all year, not just one day during February. All right. Well, to continue on, I did just want to touch for a moment on some of our other resources we have for Girl Day this year, and then give you some time for questions if anybody has questions. I mentioned earlier that we've got the Dream Big Girls Night Out program. This is our second year promoting this for Girl Day. If you're not familiar with the film Dream Big, hopefully you'll have an opportunity to see it. It's all about engineering and really geared at engaging kids in an exciting way, to show some projects and to hear from actual engineers that are out there innovating. And the film is can be the centerpiece of a Girls Night Out event, to see the film and then invite female engineers, male engineers, and engineering students to host or to facilitate hands-on activities, hold a discussion, a panel, answer questions. It's a really great way to get those girls excited and energized about engineering. Some of our other resources we have are, we've got some trainings and slide shares, webinars similar to what we're doing today. But if you're not sure how to be a role model, or kind of what's involved, or if you just would like to get some ideas on engaging specific types of audiences, we have all these resources on our website, talking to kids about engineering, how to be a good volunteer, how to host your own large-scale event, how to bring engineering into your classroom, and we've got many, many more. So please feel free to visit our website and go through our training tab on the website to find all of these great resources. Additionally, I'd just like to point out again that we've got all of our promotional materials for Girl Day in one place, right on the Girl Day program page. So we've got the ads, logos, we have a free photo library that you can use these photos to help promote your event. We've got links to all of our fun activities, the Girl Day poster, and most importantly, a link to the Girl Day kit, which it is available now. The kits are free, but we do charge a $2 shipping fee. It comes with the poster, some activities, a bookmark, and many more, of course. Additionally, I'd just like to mention our events calendar again. Here's a screenshot of some of our events some events that were hosted for Girl Day last year. This is free. It's free advertising. Let people know about your event. And again, if you have an open event and would like people to come, you can post your event website, registration link, time and date, and then when people come and want to see if there's anything going on in their area, your event will pop up. So with that, I would like to open it up to any questions. I know there have been some going on in the chat box, in the question box, so please feel free to type in your questions now. If you have a specific question for one of our panelists, please note that. It looks like there is one in there for Kate. I think this one's for you. For the Anita B website, is it the AnitaB.org? They wanted the URL for that.
Yes, it's just AnitaB.org, and you can search for them on Google as well. And I believe the Sisters Forum that I mentioned is available on that website somewhere. It's a great website, lots of resources, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, we had another one. Are there shareable images for the SWE statistics for Facebook or Twitter? At this time, no, but that is a good idea. Something that would be easy to share through social media. We can throw that idea at SWE and see if we can get something created. For now, though, you are able to download the one sheet from the website, so you can share those at your events as well, or link to it through Facebook or social media. Let's see, I had another question. Where can you get the Dream Big movie? That's a great question, especially if you're looking to do a girls' night out event. The film is actually available on Amazon for purchase now. We are working with the producers to kind of, they have certain terms for where the film can be shown and how. But you can buy the film on Amazon now, and then if you want to do a girls' night out event, you can email us girlday@discovery.org, and we can work with you to get the proper permissions to show the film at your event. Let's see. Let me go through this list here. And if you have more questions, keep typing them into the question box. Can a Girl Day role model be a male? Absolutely. Anybody can be a role model, male, female, engineer, educator, student, and everybody has something different and valuable to bring to the table. So yes, for all of our men out there, we would love to have more men signed up as Girl Day role models, to get out there and, show that there is a place for women and girls in engineering. And it's great to have both men and women as part of this program. Let's see. And Sia, I know you've been going through these on the back end. Are there any questions that we should address for the whole group?
Everyone wants to know if they can get a copy of these slides and the presentation.
Yes, we will have the video posted on the website this afternoon. So if you missed part of it, or if you'd like to send it along to a colleague, it's available that way. And I will look into getting the slides up there as a slide share as well. So the video for sure will be up this afternoon, and you can look for the slides in the next day or two if I'm not able to get it today. But yes, they will be available.
We also have a question about why Engineers Week is always in February.
I'm going to let you answer that one.
Engineers Week is always in February because when it was founded in 1952, by the National Society of Professional Engineers, they looked around and decided that George Washington was the country's first engineer because he was a land surveyor, and that is a field within engineering. and his birthday is February 22nd, and they decreed that Engineers Week always had to have George Washington's birthday in it. So, Lee, that is your history lesson for today.
Great, thanks. I've seen a few other questions about events. Are there events taking place in specific areas? To find events in your area, you can certainly check out our events calendar. And if you are hosting an event, please post it so other folks can find it. But otherwise, this is a question we get often: is how can I see what's going on already? And if you check out our planning guides, we've got some tips on how to find events in your area. But some quick basic ways would be to just simply do an internet search. You can type into Google, "Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day" in, your city and state. You can also reach out to local chapters of engineering societies. Universities that have engineering departments might have some stuff going on as well. So that's a good place to start. And, if they don't have something, then maybe you can work together to put together a program or some sort of an event. Also, aside from universities and engineering societies, you can also reach out to, if you've got local engineering businesses in town or corporations nearby. They might have some events on the books that just may not have made it to our events calendar. So those are good places to start looking to see what may already be planned. Or it's also a good way to find partners if you're looking to do something but may not have the resources, or you might not have the expertise, or if you're an educator and looking to invite engineers or connect with engineers, these are good places to start and look to connect with one another as well. Let's see, I had another question regarding the events calendar. Our events the events calendar doesn't have to be specifically US based. A lot of our users, most of our users are in the US, so that's just kind of naturally how it happens. But we are starting to get more of an international presence, and we're looking into how to make Girl Day specifically kind of a more global program. So if you are outside of the US and hosting an event, please feel free to post it on there. And it's a great, you never know, we might get some people from in your local area who are looking as well. So please feel free to post your events regardless of where you are. Let's see, anything else, Thea, that you've come across?
Someone wanted to know about activities in Ontario, and I don't know if you answered that question while I was answering other ones.
Yeah, so that's one of the ones with looking for activities in specific places, just to kind of start, in this instance, the internet is your friend. So I don't know of anything at the moment in Canada, but you can certainly Google international, or Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, or whichever search engine you prefer, and you hopefully should be able to find some information that way. Or reach out to kind of local engineering organizations, universities, and see if you can connect as well. All right. Well, we'll give it another minute or so for some more questions. Otherwise, you're always welcome to email us directly. Let's see, for Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day or Girls Night Out events, what age range do you typically target? That's a great question. These programs are really adaptable to whatever age range you're looking to work with. We do have a number of activities that are geared, or that are filterable by age. So if you visit our activities on our website, you can actually filter by age, grade, range, discipline of engineering. So we've got activities K through 12 that really, can cover students throughout their school career up through, up until college. So really, to answer your question, they can be any age that you're interested in engaging, especially if you're working with schools, educators, also clubs like the Girl Scouts or Girls Inc. They can help you to tailor programs to fit a specific age range. But yeah, so to answer your question about what age range, it's really any age. All right. Well, with that, I will bring the webinar to a close. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. If you have, specific questions or comments, please send me an email, girlday@discovery.org, and we'll be happy to connect that way. And other than that, thanks for attending, and we look forward to an awesome Girl Day in 2019. All right, you all have a great rest of the day.